Okay, we're going to go to John 10:10, which I know you're going to stay where you're at. You're going to stay in that Matthew 5 passage, but John 10:10 is going to be up on the screen on the next slide. Perfect. Can I get someone to read this for us? Go for it, Coop.
The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full.
Good. So this is the difference between the devil and Jesus. The devil comes to steal, he comes to kill, and he comes to destroy. And the world which the devil has infiltrated says, sin isn't a big deal. It's okay if you sin. If you be who you want to be and you do what you want to do, well, then you're free. But if sin was freeing, why can't we stop doing it? Because that's what freedom is, right? The ability to stop or start doing something whenever you want. Or if you started something to stop it, or if you stop something to start it. But with sin, we can't seem to stop, can we? When we get an urge to do something and we want to stop, but then we decide to go through with it, well, that's not really freedom. Or if we can't bear to be without something, or we can't bear to put something down, well, that'd be an addiction, right? That'd mean we would be addicted to doing it. That's not freedom. If we can't stop doing that, that means that we don't have self-control. So the freedom we supposedly have from sinning, it's actually a lie. The enemy wants us to do what the world tells us to do because it steals time from doing what really matters. It kills relationships. It destroys what's really important. And that's what the devil wants, because when we lose sight of the things that matter, when we walk further away from God, we're one step closer to spending eternity suffering with the devil. And that's exactly what he wants. Misery loves company, and the devil wants us to suffer with him. But Jesus provides a way out. Jesus gives us tips to keep our focus outward rather than keeping it inward on us. Jesus helps us to focus on God and others, because that's how the devil tries to lead us astray. He puts us at the center of his lies. He says, oh, if you do what you want, if you think you deserve more, if you think you desire more, if it's convenient for you, then that's what you should do. That's what the world tells us we should do. But if we did those things all the time, then we wouldn't really be free from them. That means that we would be stuck in the habit of doing them, and we'd be addicted to them, which takes us away from what God actually wants us to do. So now we're going to be in Matthew 5:21 through 26. If you go to next slide for me. Thank you. Okay, so there's like some colors here, okay? And it's kind of tiny, so that's why I told you to turn to the page in your Bible, because it's kind of, we're still working the kinks out of the slides, but it's up there, right? This is Matthew 5:21 through 26. The blue that you see, if you can even see the blue part, that's the little like truth chunk. It's where Jesus says, this is the truth. And then the green part is what we should do as a result of the truth. So Jesus doesn't just tell you how it is. He tells you how to be better and move on from how it is. And then the orange part is the consequence if you just keep doing what you want to do. It's the consequences of sinning and not having a relationship with Jesus. So I'm going to read it for us, but you can follow along in your Bible. Jesus says, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. That's true, right? Like most people, if you go up to anyone, whether they're a follower of the Lord or not, and you said, is murder a bad thing? They'd say, yeah, murder's a bad thing. But those who don't have a relationship with Jesus, they usually view that as like the ultimate of all bads. Whereas if you know Jesus, you know that all sin is equal. It doesn't matter what sin you do. And so this is the truth bubble from Jesus. He says, but I tell you that anyone who is even angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, you're worthless, is answerable to court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. So he's just told us the truth, that it's not just if you murder, but that if you act upon your anger, aka rage, if you're acting upon your anger, or if your anger is uncontrollable, then you're also subject to judgment. Then he goes on to say, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still together on the way. Or, here's the consequence, your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. Truly I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. And we'll talk a little bit more about rage and then Jesus's answer to how to get over that addiction. Let's move on to the next slide. Perfect. Okay, Matthew 5:27 through 32. Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who even looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. It has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her the victim of adultery, and anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. So Jesus just said, if you sin in any way that has to do with lust, you should just cut that body part off. And we'll talk about whether he really means to cut those body parts off or if he's speaking hyperbolically, which is just a fancy word for saying, like, how do we apply that to our lives now? Okay, last chunk of this Matthew verse. It'll be on the next slide. Here we go. Matthew 5:33 through 37. Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. So we've talked about three things. If you'll go to the next slide, it'll be up there. So this is the what of the passage, right? We've talked about three different addictions, three things that steal our freedom and prevent us from living the fullest life we can that Jesus has called us to. So first we have rage. Rage is uncontrollable anger. It's when we resort to name calling or yelling or screaming, harming someone physically or verbally. Either you have rage problems or you know someone who has rage problems. And if you live by this, if you're addicted to rage, that means that you're no longer in control. You're no longer free. It means that you're easy prey for the enemy, right? Because you're not living by the Spirit. You're not living a faith life. You are living based off of your emotions. And then we've got lust. Lust is when, we're going to use politically correct terms because some of y'all are young and some of you aren't. But you're all kids. So that being said, lust is when you're obsessed with someone's physical looks and you desire to have an inappropriate relationship with them. If you want more information, ask your own parents. It's when you fantasize about a person or you loosen up on your values or boundaries because of them. So if you're living your life controlled by lust, that means you can get into a lot of bad relationships that you wouldn't have otherwise. And then the last one we talked about is making false promises. Y'all know what this is. It's when you say you're gonna do one thing and then you don't do it, or the opposite, you say you're not going to do something and then you go and do it. And the issue is that if we say things more than yes, I'm going to do it, or no, I'm not going to do it, if we say like, I swear on the Bible, the issue is that when we break that promise, it doesn't just put a negative light on us, it puts a negative light on God, right? And Jesus, one of his attributes is that he's a promise keeper. So if we say we want to be like Jesus, that means we shouldn't be making false promises, right? So rage, lust, and making false promises, that's the what. And then if you go to the next slide, Mason. Thank you. Why the so what? Why does this matter? It matters because addictions steal our freedom. They don't give us the freedom that the world tells us it'll give us. And we know this because we've all sinned. We've all had trouble stopping something once we've realized that it wasn't the right thing to do. And it keeps us from living our life to the fullest. That's what, in John 10:10, that's what Jesus says he came to give us, is a full, satisfying, joy-filled life. And when we're addicted to things, we don't get to live that life. We're enslaved. So that's the why it matters, is because these things, as well as other addictions that we're not talking about tonight, steal our freedom. But thankfully, Jesus provides us a way to get a handle over these three things, as we just read, but we'll go into them. I think it's on the next slide. Perfect. Okay, so this is a now what. What we know what the three addictions are: rage, lust, and making false promises. You can fill in any other addiction you can think of as well. But Jesus says that if you have a problem with rage, if you have an addiction even related to anger, the counter to that is making amends. If you have a problem with lust, the counter to that is getting rid of temptations. And if you have a problem making false promises, which is also connected to lying, because once you make one false promise, it's easy to make another and another and another, just like when we lie. To counter that, we do what we're going to say we're going to do. And that's the keys to living our life to the fullest. But to be able to do any of these things, we have to keep our eyes on Jesus instead of ourselves. Remember, that's how the devil tries to trick us. He tries to say, everything is about you. You are the center of the universe. That's how he got Adam and Eve to sin in the first place, and that's how he gets us to sin, because we're self-centered people. In all honesty, we know that we're conceited. But Jesus offers us a way out of that, and that way out is to focus on him. That's how we make amends. That's how we stop drawing closer to the things that tempt us. That's how we continue to do what we say that we're going to do. Because apart from Jesus, these things all sound great in theory, but the whole point of an addiction is that you can't stop doing it on your own. You have to have something greater who is not addicted to be able to help you through those things. And that's what Jesus offers. He offers to help us to make amends. He offers to help us get rid of temptations, and he offers to help us do what we say we're going to do. Which goes on to our next slide, I think. Oh, there's no more slides? Oh, well, that's fun. I also left my other paper. But let's talk about what those mean. Okay, so making amends, right? We can make amends with people by apologizing. This is very countercultural. Apologize no matter what. Even if you don't think you've done anything wrong, you could very well be right in the situation, but it's not about the context of the situation. It's not about what you're arguing about, but it's about who you're having the conflict with. If you can either A, find any fault at all of your own in a situation, that's something to apologize about. Or if you can't find any fault in the situation, you can at least say that you're sorry for causing this person pain, right? Because that's what we would want someone to do for us. Even if we realize that we were wrong and someone else apologizes to us, it makes a world of a difference, and it brings us closer in a relationship, right? This is also countercultural. It's okay to say you're wrong. That's how you make amends. Being prideful is not of the Lord. And that's really hard because we live in a very pride-driven world. But if you can get past that, like that's what the gospel is. The gospel is realizing that we've been wrong, that we've sinned, and that we need Jesus. So to make amends means recognizing that we're wrong and it's okay. It's not bad to be wrong because we literally already were wrong in how our entire lives worked. But that's what making amends means. Then we've got get rid of temptations. There's a lot of things that can tempt us that you'd be surprised that most of the world says are good things. But like, this is also countercultural. Books. Don't read books that have inappropriate scenes in them because it's just as bad as watching a movie with inappropriate scenes in them. So there's like, if you recognize that a book is tempting you to loosen up on your boundaries, you shouldn't be reading that book. If you think an outfit is really cute, but you know that it's not in the best of taste, don't wear the outfit. And that goes for boys and girls. That's not just calling out girls, but there are some, like boys, no one wants to see your underwear under your shorts. Pull your shorts down, please.
Facts.
Sorry. I'm not saying girls are without issues as well, but that being said, girls get tempted too. We focus a lot on guys getting tempted, and we tell you like, don't play certain video games, but also like everyone has different temptations. And sometimes our friends can tempt us. So if your friend is tempting you or you see something that is tempting you to sin, just walk away from it or change the conversation. And again, that's a lot easier said than done. So that's why all of these things require Jesus' help in them. And then the last one, do what? Sorry, y'all, I'm losing my voice. Do what you say you're gonna do. It's pretty simple. It's okay to not want to do something and outright tell them, no, I don't want to do it. It would hurt them a lot more if you said you were going to do something and then they're relying on you and you don't follow through. We don't like when our friends flake on us, so instead of flaking on someone, just tell them you're not going to do something. Or if you can't do something, that's okay too. But there's no point in saying, yes, I'm going to do something, and then not doing it. Because Jesus always does what he says that he's going to do, and we're called to be his representatives. So if we want to be like Jesus, that means even doing little things that go unrecognized, but just being reliable to other people, right? So those are the three. Make amends, get rid of temptations, do what you say you're going to do. These are keys to living a life of freedom. And we know that these things are freeing, right? Because it's really easy for us to want to stop making, or for us to stop wanting to make amends. Or it's really easy to give in to temptations, or it's really easy to say we're going to do something and then not do it. Because those things all have to do with us thinking we deserve more, or us wanting what we desire no matter the cost, or us doing things for convenience. But that all goes back to those are addictions. So if you want to do the things that are freeing, you have to choose daily to do those things, because that's why it's called freedom, because you're free to start or stop something. That's why God gives us free will, so that if we choose him, it's because we really want to, not because someone forced us to. And on that note, I will pray us out. Dear God, I pray that you would help us break free from rage, from lust, from making false promises, Lord. I pray that if we know anyone who's struggling with an addiction, Lord, whether it be the three that we mentioned or something else, that we would just be able to shine your light to them, Lord Jesus. Please help our small group time to be fruitful. In your name I pray. Amen.